So Redis doesn't have the concept of databases or anything like that, or collections or tables. It really is just a big grab bag of keys. So now anytime I can just ask for name, and it's just a bunch of keys, the thing that you should be worried about is like, how do I make sure that I don't have naming collisions, right? Like, how do I make sure that I don't use name later? And you're going to do that with something called namespaces. It's not really like an official way. Like, it's just a way that you're going to name your keys to make sure that you're not overwriting those keys later. And I'll show you how to do that. Let's say I was storing addresses for users, or let's say cities. So we're storing cities for users. So what I could do, let's say I had, set, and I'm going to be working in my users, and my users all have addresses. I'm going to put a colon kind of to separate these different things. And then user address, well, let's do it this way. It's kind of a trick to figure out how you want to name these things. So I'm going to put, this is going to be my user namespace, and then I'm going to have a BT_holt for just my user's namespace, and then I'll have a city in here of where I live, and I'll put, Seattle there. And then later, I'm going to add another user to this database, and it's going to be, Sarah Drasner, Sarah Ito is her username. And, put city, and she lives in Denver. And then we'll have, another user here that, one mark city lives in Minneapolis. I'm impressed that I remembered how to spell that. There's a lot of N's in there. Actually, there's just two, but it feels like a lot. But you can see here, we kind of use these namespaces to kind of separate these out. And now I can be kind of assured that user, and then username, and then kind of city. And so I can establish this kind of hierarchy just by using nomenclature. Like if you're familiar with BEM way of naming CSS, it's kind of like the same idea as like these names in and of themselves don't have any power, but we're using these kind of hierarchy to describe things to make sure we don't have naming collisions, right? Again, namespacing is kind of how you refer to that. I mostly see people use colons with Redis. It's just the way it is. I don't know why people chose to do it that way, but I also have seen people do like user/BT_holt/city, or they'll mix and match. So like user namespace and then it's BT_holt/city. I'll see people use slashes as well. So however you want to do that. And then again, later we can do get user BT_holt city, and it'll give us back that I live in Seattle. Make sense? It's kind of just a general tip of how to keep things separated well in Redis.
Okay, so can I can choose whatever delimiter I can, like other than columns?
Can use any delimiter that you want to with Redis. I think so. Let's go with yes. I think you can use whatever delimiter you want. I think you'll again generally see people use colons. And I think there's some tooling that they've actually built around people assuming you use colons and slashes. But there's nothing from stopping me of saying user.btholt.city. Pretty sure. Seattle. Yeah, that should work just fine. It's a good question though. I'm trying to strongly encourage you to use colons though, because that's what people generally use. Cool. So something else really kind of interesting and strange that I've seen people do is, let's say you have a list of photos that you've banned from your website and people keep trying to upload this photo. So what they'll do is they'll actually use the photo binary as the key, because these keys can actually be almost arbitrarily large. They can be up to 512 megabytes in length for the key. Now don't do that. I think it's actually a poor idea, because then you slow down your lookups because it has to traverse through these giant keys. But it is technically possible to use like binaries as the keys. In that particular case, what I would say, I would take like a hash, like an MD5 or an SHA, a SHA, as people say, of the photo, and then use that as the key, and then you would know if I can upload or not that particular photo. But there's a lot of clever things that you can do with Redis.